Hey there, Denise. How are you doing? And
Doing
Eric,
well.
good. Eric, I love you.
He says, "I love you, Mom," and he's blowing kisses, and he's showing me how he's like, you know how like you do those parachutes, like how you everybody's in a circle and you stretch them out, and then you go in and they
Oh,
puff out.
yeah,
That's what
yeah.
he's showing me. Like he's got over you and the whole family. He's like got like a dome over all of you, and he's showing me
Good,
it's like a parachute. Yes,
good.
yes.
During this horrible time of the pandemic. All right, so
Oh,
we're going to talk
yeah.
about a very cheerful subject. We're going to talk about human trafficking. It's like I have learned a lot from this, well, in particular from this YouTube series that's called The Fall Cabal Deep State. And, you know, so first of all, let's just open the mic to you, Eric. Tell me about what's going on. Human trafficking, child trafficking, sex trafficking. What is going on? I don't want to talk about drug trafficking, but can you give me some insight? I mean, why? A spiritual contract? Tell me whatever you want. Just, you got the mic.
Well, when you said spiritual contract, um, I don't get like he's showing me it's not like the same. It's not he's showing me how they didn't like say, okay, I'm signing up for this and here this goes. It's almost like the course change it changed course, and so he's showing me on another level they they did sign up for this in a way, but it was like after the fact. Not all,
You're
some
talking about
did,
the
but
victims, right? Not
yes,
okay,
yes.
good. Yeah,
Not the ones doing it. This is the
yeah.
victims. He's showing me how it's like because he's showing me how we go back and forth in a sense to the other side, and sometimes we renegotiate what's going on and
Okay.
and and stuff, and so they're like, okay, we'll go ahead with this, on a soul level to go with this. um, uh, Eric says that when you said not about drug trafficking, he says, but drugs are involved in this also. He's saying
Oh, how so?
because you have to be um, he's saying inebriated, but it's more than, but you have to be intoxicated with mind altering stuff in order to participate in this type of
Oh,
stuff.
oh yeah,
You
okay.
know, you just have to in order to, because he says there's a tinge part of them, of the people that are doing this, that are not the victims, that are the perpetrator. There's a tinge part of them that knows this isn't right. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in hiding, he says. So
Oh
they know.
yeah,
So they know.
yeah.
It's not like they're oblivious to it, and like a little kid going and touching a hot stove and not knowing
Oh
that it's hot.
yeah, of
So
course not.
they're aware. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in hiding, he says.
Yeah,
Um, uh,
and they hide well.
yeah, well, Eric says yes, they do. He says, but because we're not looking for anything. We just don't. We're
We don't
not
want
looking.
to. We don't want to see. That's the problem. We want to hide our heads in the sand
He
because it's so
says yes
ugly.
for
It's ugly.
yeah, it's beyond that. And but Eric is saying, but as horrible and as horrific as it is, he's telling me that there's such great um, I don't want to say satisfaction, but there's great. Uh, the only way I can how to put it into words is how he's showing me is and telling me it's like there's great rewards afterwards, because what they signed up to do is like a lot of bravery, and how so that you and I don't have to experience this
We're
in a
still
way,
talking about the
so
victims, right?
yes, the
Yeah.
victims, how they're doing, they're signing up for this so that our children can stay safe, you know, and
Yeah.
and and it's been going on for decades. He's saying
Oh.
decades,
maybe even centuries, but in maybe are you talking about the decades as far as the deep state, Pizzagate, that kind of stuff? Or are you talking about, I mean, because I'm sure there's
Yeah, but
been
it's been going on a long time. He says
a
a
long
long,
time. Okay,
yes,
okay,
yes, long time.
okay.
It's just grown. The members, not the victims, the
Yeah.
members have grown
Mm.
and stuff. Um, and he says that I lost. He's switching on where he's going with, but he's saying that it's like when the ones that have been here that are no longer here and they've transitioned over, it's like their light got brighter, their spirit
Oh,
got larger, is what he's saying, because they did a deed that not many of us souls want to sign up for.
oh God,
And
no.
he says none of these souls are forced to say this is what you're going to do. It's a volunteer basis, and it's to, but the idea of it for them doing it is because they know, it's, he says it's like, and he's showing me, and I think it's funny how he's using this analogy because I was using it for somebody. He says everybody knows that each teaspoon that they get to dig, they know eventually they'll get to the source of it.
God, I
So
hope so. Yeah.
yeah, he says yeah. He says yeah.
Yeah. I know that Trump, apparently, according to this YouTube series, has done a lot, has signed a lot of executive orders, bills, whatever, doing all sorts of stuff to try to um, combat it, but it's never really publicized in the media very much, and maybe because the media somehow, parts of the media are somehow complicit.
Well, he says that wouldn't sell the news, um, people just it just is, the shock value of it is just too much, and
Okay.
it's just too much, and it wouldn't sell.
No, I'm talking about showing all the different things that Trump has done to
he says
combat it.
he says people wouldn't believe that,
Yeah,
because
I
he
guess
says
not. Yeah.
people just wouldn't, they wouldn't believe it, and he's just saying yeah, they won't believe it, and also I feel like whatever he's doing, it's almost like that it doesn't need to be told now what he's doing,
Okay.
because it will come out again, and everything will come out
Okay.
more than what people will realize.
Oh God. I mean, this the series that I watched. I don't know if you saw me post about it, but
I did.
10 short. I mean, God, it's just incredible. Just watch every one through 10. All right, so in that series, they also said that there's some involvement with some in the CIA in drug, sex, child trafficking, murder, satanic ritual abuse, plus supplying global elite pedophiles with children for sex. And they admitted to that and got charged with it. So, do you want to say anything about that? I mean, of course, most of the CIA is wonderful and brave souls, etc. So, this is just, I think, part of the corrupt deep state. I don't know, or something. It's not good.
Well, Erik says, in any business, there's going to be someone, there, or some, like some people steal time. He says, like they say they work 10 hours and
Oh
really
yeah.
they've only worked, or they steal Post-it notes or paper clips, or they steal, and he's laughing, he's saying he's stealing people's lunches. So there's always going to be those people that you would think
Yeah, but
not.
stealing kids'
But
virginity, that's
so
innocent. That's
in
not
this type of stuff, yes, in this type of stuff, he said it's no different. Like you were saying about the CIA, there are some people in there that are just. He's telling me that these people are groomed to go work in these places.
the CIA people.
the CIA and other
Oh, wow.
high officials, they're groomed
By
to work.
whom?
The very top people he's showing me, like they're groomed, like they know. He says it's kind of like um, some groups groom their members to work in big financial places, and so
Ah,
they are not allowed to get any tattoos. They don't do anything to where they can have a record or
yeah.
anything, because they're groomed to participate in white collar crime.
I see. So
So these
basically,
people,
yeah, so it's maybe, is it the global elite, the Bilderberg complex people, that kind of thing, like the corrupt global elite that want to agree with depopulation and all that kind of stuff? Is that who's grooming them?
he said yes, but when you asked that and he was showing me, it's like you have the very top elite, but then it just trickles, like then it has one person here that does something, and then that trickles down, and that person does something, and it's like he's showing me like those curtains like back in the 60s with the beads,
Oh yeah,
hanging.
yeah.
And so it's like that, each one has their, so it's the very bottom that get the axe, and then they start getting the other one. But he is telling me that they're really working on chopping half of that curtain down. They
Good.
don't want the bottom person anymore,
Who's
because
they?
the people who are looking within our government, I feel like law enforcement, and I feel like it's somebody, like it's, I don't know.
Someone who's
Eric,
trying to stop it?
yes, Eric
Oh,
is
okay,
saying
good.
people within the FBI. There's people within. It's yes. He says yes.
Okay.
and he's saying FBI. There's people within the CIA that are working on this. So these little clusters of people who are working on this, nobody else knows that this is going on.
Mm, okay. Now, there's this woman, Laura Silsby. She was on the board or something for Amber Alert. This is weird. And also part of New Life Ministries, which like gets foster kids, takes in orphans and stuff. And apparently she is was charged, and I think she confessed, to the abduction of a bunch of Haitian kids during the earthquake, um, to have them be a steady supply for the global elite pedophiles. And plus, she is close friends with the Clintons. Do you want to say anything about that?
Well, when you were talking about that, Eric says, it's a perfect opportunity to, it's like a sale, it's
Yeah.
that's been mismarked. And so, like, let's go in and get all these,
No good disaster should go on. What do you call it? Every crisis should be taken advantage of. I can't remember what the thing is, but yeah. So
yeah,
was she guilty? Is she guilty?
Eric says, Eric says, yes, he's saying she is not an innocent bystander.
All right. So, and then the Clinton Foundation, Haitian Relief, witnesses. Okay. A lot of the witnesses there were shot before the trial. I can't remember one of the guys' names. Uh, Monica Peterson was down there in Haiti, just sort of like documenting all the stuff going on with the Clinton Foundation, Haitian Relief Fund, and the pedophilia and all that. I mean, child trafficking, whatever. And also Dr. Dean Lorich was there and also voiced out, this is not right. I mean, they are taking kids and selling them for sex. And anyway, so were those two at least killed by somebody in the Clinton circles?
Erik is saying, he goes, um, he says, this is a very delicate time. And he's saying, what he's saying, I'm going to just, he says, I'm just going to say that, yes, they were killed.
Okay,
So I
yeah,
don't
you
know.
don't want to endanger. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
I don't,
yeah,
yeah,
I
I don't
got you.
know if they looked like they had suicide or whatever, but he's just telling me that, yes, they were killed, is what he's saying.
Well, a lot of them, and I'll go on later, seem to die by a tie or some rope hanging to a doorknob, which of course is not
That's
very
a
high off the
symbol. That's a
ground.
symbol. That's a symbol.
That is, it means you be quiet, shut your mouth.
Wow.
Yeah. Did
Wow.
Erik tell you about that? The
He's
symbol?
told me, he told me it's a symbol. That's why I
Wow,
said that. I didn't know that.
I didn't either. Okay, there are pedophile logos on the International Adoption Clinic, the Kennedy Krieger Institute, and John Hopkins Child Center, and also the New Star Kafala. And the FBI has you know aired the fact that there are certain symbols, like there's a certain symbol that means guy on guy, a man on boy, a woman on woman, grown woman and a young child, and um, a butterfly symbol, which kind of means pedophilia in general. Um, is that just a coincidence? These logos on those institutes that I'm talking about?
Erik says, Mom, he says, there is no coincidence.
Okay.
And it's, I've, he's saying it's it's the same thing like what we have in a sense, because he says, he's showing me how we have stickers on some businesses. I know even here in Houston we do have stickers on businesses that say human trafficking, and when that on there, it's a symbol to let people know this is a place you can say, I'm a victim of this, and they'll take action. It's to let people know, and he says these symbols and that are to let other people know, like, here's our club.
I know. Like
So yeah.
Chester Benefield, and Chris Cornell. One of them created some organization because they were abused as children sexually, and so they created, one of them or both of them, these organizations to fight against that. And the the pedophilia thing is this, and their logo is this, like it's broken.
Let me show it up
Oopsie,
a little bit more.
wait, like it's broken. Like, okay, so
Okay.
this is
Uh-huh.
the pedophile ring. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but this is, it's broken. That's their indication that we're going to stop this.
Okay.
So I do believe that Chris Cornell and Chester Benningfield were killed because of them trying to be the voice for children in child trafficking and pedophilia. Am I wrong?
Erik said Erik says they were murdered. Um, so the way he says that, he's telling me now it wasn't through suicide. So I don't know if they died of overdose or what.
I think it was the same thing,
That
except
other.
except for, I think one of them. It's like there was some blood around,
Mhm.
and it looked like that person was cut and then hung by their exercise equipment or whatever. I don't know, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. It was definitely. It was definitely murder.
Who
Oh
killed
Lord.
them?
People within that gamut, he says, because whew, um, it's they knew too much, and
Yeah,
and
yeah. Sa-
People know when you know too much.
yeah. Same with Kate Spade, I think. She was speaking out against this kind of thing, I believe.
Well, when you were talking about that, Erik was showing me Kate Spade, and you know, and I even question, like, how does a because I believe they said it was a tie. How does a tie do that? I just felt like she had a little bit more class to go out
Yeah.
in a different way than that. I just really
Mm-mm. No, it's that's
something didn't
simple.
feel right in my gut, and I just like, and I just, yeah, I just, I that didn't, I just felt like she had a little bit more class than that.
So Eric, she was murdered too, right?
Yeah,
By the
yes,
same
yeah.
circle.
Mhm.
What about Bourdain?
He says, he says yes, and people all around know that he didn't. They tried to. He's telling me people tried to make it look like he had mental health issues, just like
Yeah.
they tried to make Kate Spade. She had mental health issues, and he says he says all of us had mental health issues, and he said, of course they had issues, you know, and stuff because of what all they knew,
Oh,
and
yeah.
um, but but um, but yes, and yeah, yeah, he said yes, and so I was asking him, like, so does the same person do this, go around doing this? Because it's so, I don't know any other word other than gross and horrific.
I know.
It's
Yeah.
nauseating me. And he says, no, they have different people to do this, you know. He says they're called like hitmen, you know,
Oh,
or
yeah.
they will do this. It's like, um,
Well, and Chester
yeah.
Benningfield, you know, he was abused by a friend of the family when he was a child. And guess who was a big friend of the family? Tony Podesta, who worked on Hillary Clinton's campaign. And if you look at Chester and Tony, their pictures, they're spitting image. I mean, it looks like Tony was probably Chester Benningfield's biological father. Yes or no?
Er- and I now see why Erik was talking. He says, Erik says that is something that that that's not going to be able to be proven right now,
Oh, okay.
and I just don't feel like Erik is, he's just not
You don't want to
ready.
say it. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you're protecting us. I can understand that.
Mhm.
Now, George Soros, he is a member, founded, whatever, CEO of NAMBLA, North American Man Boy Love Association. Talk about that.
That sounds gross.
Yeah, and they say that one of their mottos is, you know, sex at 8 is great or something. I mean, you know, they have
Just
all
that
sorts of
name is nasty sounding. Sound.
yeah, but and one of the symbols is a figure of a man with a heart holding in the hand of a little boy with a heart in the middle. So it's so so tell me about Soros and Nambla. You need to watch this. I think it's number 4, part 4 that is this kind of thing. But yeah, tell me about Soros and pedophilia and the pedophilia ring for global elites, of which he is one.
Well, Erik says, because I'm like just the name itself is like, I would not let my kids, as my kids, like I have a kids, but I wouldn't let, if I had a son and I definitely wouldn't let my daughter go to something like that, like if I had a son go to something like, just because the name sounds gross to me.
Yeah, yeah.
But Erik says they don't take off the street people to go to this. You know,
Okay.
these are people that were, he says, raised to be a part of this.
Okay. Yeah.
So I, so Erik is saying yes, that this is part of their purpose, why they were bored, why they were, he's telling me to be a part of this.
The victims, you're saying?
Yes, like this
Okay, got
is
it.
why they were given birth to. And Erik is telling me that they would even check, which is, they even would check to see if they're gonna be boys.
Oh,
You
wow. What do you mean?
like in
When
the
they're,
womb, when
oh,
they're,
wow. So they were producing children
yeah,
for the
this
for the global elite pedophile ring?
yes, Erik says like they were, um,
Okay.
um, yeah, and Erik says, yes, they're, and he says, Mommy, those people aren't going to believe any of this. People, because it's
I
just
know.
so,
Because they don't want to. Who wants to? I mean, there's something
it's
called
just,
normalcy bias, where you think it's never happened, so it will never happen. Like with the Holocaust, they
ugh, I
could not
know.
imagine it happening. All right,
Yeah.
so Justin Trudeau, and this documentary, they said he has so many associations with registered pedophiles. Can you tell me about that?
Well, he says, when you have a business, and he's saying like an entrepreneur business, you only want to surround yourself with people who's going to help you in your business or who you can sell to.
Okay.
So of course he's going to know a lot of those people because it's a benefit for him.
Why?
Erik says because of the line of work that he's in. And Erik says, all these people have, like the majority of them have a really good front business, but it's a front.
Oh, wow.
It's like a smoke screen he's showing me. There's this other stuff that's going on behind the scenes.
Well, is he a pedophile? I don't know that he is, but just associating with him. But Justin Trudeau.
Um, Erik shows me him standing alone, so that's what he's telling
Oh,
me.
okay, so no, I don't feel like he is. Yeah.
Erik shows me standing alone.
All right. So there's a lot of weird sex symbols in some Disney films. Like I think it was Lion King, where the clouds spell out sex, and there's like Beauty and the Beast or something where you see penises as part of the architecture of castles and stuff like that. And and also the symbols I was talking about that was released by the FBI, the different symbols that I showed you guys, and also Illuminati pyramid symbols throughout. What's going on there with Disney and these like subliminal sex messages and Illuminati symbols and pedophile symbols?
I heard something about the Disney one, and that was real disturbing to me because I just love Disney World.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Well,
just,
they're not all bad, but
um,
whatever.
um,
Get in there.
Erik says that he's telling me right now, he's telling me that Disney didn't start out that way. And I think
You
he's
talk about
telling
Walt Disney?
Walt Disney himself
Okay.
didn't start out that way. That's not how it was supposed to go. But as you get different people in there, different things, and they see an opening because it caters to children and blah blah blah. So um, Erik, he says that I'm gonna have to look at some of those things too because I didn't see them. But he's saying that yes, they have it out there, and he says
Why?
to let it's. He says it's like a show of power. Like, look what we can do, and everybody's asleep.
Mm.
Nobody knows it, and it's like for them. He says it's like tagging, like our gangs do tagging, on things.
Oh,
And he
yeah.
says this because it's basically the same thing. It's tagging, is what
Oh.
it is,
Ugh.
and they like to see. And it's funny he says that because I remember back in the when was it the late 70s, early 80s, a friend of mine and I noticed on Procter and Gamble stuff the what would be the mark of the beast, the 666, and how we
Oh,
noticed it on all
wow.
of the
Really?
products. Yes, and I remember we were like shocked, and we were like, no, this can't mean this. And we were just so shocked about it, and we were like, oh my God. And so we started looking on all those products.
Yeah. Where was it? On the, oh, where?
And I'm trying to think on one of the products that it was just right on, like, I remember it'd be like underneath a carton, or it would be like in
Oh.
the corner of something, like soaps or whatever. And
Mm.
clothes soaps, because back then clothes soaps only came in boxes.
Yeah.
And it would be on there in just a little tiny thing. And we were like, no, this can't be this. And and I just remember we were like, no, this can't mean that. And we kind of brush it off. And I didn't think anything else about it until recent. And then I was looking online, and it said that Procter and Gamble sued a company because they said this. and
Oh.
and
Mm.
and it's like it all makes sense.
Well, is it subliminal messages? Is it just like I'm tagging because I'm all that in a bag of chips, or is it meant to be for mind control and subliminal messages to children and adults for that matter?
Well, Eric says on some of those things, like how you say how they have it on the Disney stuff and
Yeah.
other things. Eric says that is it's like tagging for them, so that they're boasting about how far out they are with their stuff, to let
Okay.
other members know, like, look where we are and nobody sees us.
Yeah.
Some of the things are to like to distract us. It's symbol. I can't even say that word now. It's to get our, almost like numb us to things, so
Oh, okay.
to
Yeah.
do that, because we don't ask, like, why. I know I didn't really start asking why this until after we flooded with Harvey. Then I started asking myself, why do I have to do this? Who says I have to do this?
Oh,
And it's like, kind of like, who
yeah.
says we all get hungry at noon? Who said we
Yeah.
have to all get
Oh,
hungry?
wow. Yeah.
And it's like, so I don't eat at noon anymore.
Oh my God. All right. So
Yeah.
what about Walt Disney? Was he a pedophile or not?
Eric is saying no. And he says there's a lot of people, I feel like Eric is telling me that, feel that he was a part of it, and this and that. But Eric is saying Walt Disney, the man himself, was
Good.
not,
Thank
was
God.
not. And,
Yeah.
and that makes me feel better.
Yeah. All right. What about this Hollywood connection? Who was it? I think that it was who's that guy that played Mad Max? Oh God. Ah,
Do you have blonde hair or white hair or
no,
something?
no. Oh God, I can't remember. But anyway, so but he called Hollywood an institutionalized pedophile ring, and they had this spiritual belief, some of them, that they can harvest the energy of a child, that they can actually take their blood, torture them, take their blood, and get something called adrenochrome into and which is, I guess, the stress response, and eat it. And there's
What?
cannibalism involved. There's awful stuff, but tell me about the Hollywood connection, basically, with any kind of trafficking for that matter, except except drugs.
Well, Erik says, it's about grooming, you know, and it's about grooming people and stuff. And it's also about, he says, you've heard that saying in the past about selling your soul to the devil, to
Yeah.
get something. And,
Mm.
and he says a lot of these people who are in Hollywood, were homeless or not far from homeless, or,
Oh, yeah.
and they're wanting this big break. So somebody promises them something, and in order, it's like, okay, yes, I'll do that, but they don't start off saying, harvest these organs and
Yeah.
drink this blood in order to have this big part. They start out little, and he says, and they have you do little things, and then you get attached to an income, he says, or a
Yeah.
lifestyle. And then you feel like you have no other way, because where you came from. You don't want to go back there. So you just, and then the next thing you know, you're too far
Yeah.
and
I mean, there's something called spirit cooking parties
oh, yeah,
where yeah, they just eat. I mean, you see the parties there, and there's a human
oh,
head or whatever. It's horrible, and and you see this this series. You see an email from Tony Podesta to the person who's inviting him to that. Oh yeah, yeah, I'd love to be a part of this spirit. It's really much deeper and more horrific than people think. I think, okay? Um, it, it's like satanic worshiping,
yes,
and it's almost like we're in this big fight of good against evil right now with all this. But so the Hollywood connection, of course, not all of them are that way, but
correct.
there's a part of it that is an institutionalized pedophile ring or not.
He said, yes, it is a part of it. And he says, and that we already know, he's telling me, because he's showing me about that one group of people that were arrested for
Oh,
uh, doing luring women and stuff like that. Uh, uh, he is it Nexum or something? He's showing me, like, that's already been proven,
okay.
And then there's other people who are in there, that are proven, like um, some of the people who've already been arrested. I'll just give the recent one because he's most out there, is
Oh
Weinstein.
yeah,
you
yeah,
know and he's, and that's just down there. There's a lot of other that. And Erik
yeah.
says it's also almost like a form of brainwashing too.
God, I bet. I mean, it's just awful. And Epstein. I mean, the mainstream media tried to say that Trump went to Epstein on the plane to that island where a lot of pedophilia went down. But then they really looked at the ledger, the document, what do you call it, the passenger list, and it wasn't. It was Clinton on there. All right, so
Yeah, yeah.
let's talk about the
Erik says he
church.
didn't go. Oh,
You know,
okay.
the church, the Vatican. For one thing, the name of the telescope in the Vatican is Lucifer. Okay, why?
Well, Erik says, well, their teachings are, he says, that Lucifer was an angel that fell from the grace of God, you know,
Mhm.
and he's, it's almost like what they're saying is that he's, and I don't know anything about this, he's saying it's like they named it that. What they're telling people is to what like this is it's somehow like this is how far he could have gone or something. If there's something about why they're saying that, but Erik says, you know, there's more to the story, and it's going to come out. He's telling me, but it's like Lucifer. I don't know. You said it's a telescope because Erik is saying they're using it like oh, like I don't know. I don't even know the story about Lucifer falling from.
No, I don't either.
But it's almost like he didn't believe. Erik is telling me he didn't believe stories or something, and so this somehow, or this is symbolic. What they're saying, like how far you can see, something like that. But Erik says it's this crazy story that they have as to why
Oh.
things are named in the church like that. They have their own story that makes sense to people that don't question. For me, I would
Yeah.
think like, why of all names?
Yeah, and also the Vatican is full of all these sculptures of reptilians and evil looking stuff. So that's kind of weird. But also the fact that the current pope, at least, he very often is like doing the sign of the devil, and he's got this. It shows it in this documentary. So, and also there is a lot of pedophilia in the church. So, can you comment on that? All of that, Erik, please.
Erik says yes. There's a lot of pedophilia in the church. There's a lot, and that
Why?
has. And
Why?
um, Erik says, well, one, they're protected.
Mm-hmm.
They're protected, and um, so it's they don't. He says not all of them start out that way, but he says, you know, this also goes back to saying you have to be a virgin or no sex or whatever it is you have to be a priest, you know, and stuff. And
Mm.
he says, you know, that
Yeah.
that's you're asking people to deny
Ugh, their urges. Yeah, that's
the,
stupid.
their humanness, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
what we're supposed to have. So then they go off, and then they start engaging in things, and then from there, and then they know they're protected. He says they're protected, and Erik says that's the bottom line. They're protected, and the reason why they're protected is because the church doesn't want a bad name.
Oh God, no.
And
I
then
mean,
he says, and then Erik is showing me money. He said, so money gets paid out to people, you know, and
yeah,
I'm assuming the victims, you know,
yeah,
um, or there's some that they allowed to serve time, you know, prison time, which we had them here in Houston even.
yeah.
Um, but when you talk about all the other stuff within the church, Erik says, what he's telling me, what you're talking about, when you walk into the church, that's not what you see right away. That's not how you see it.
Right.
Unless,
It's in places,
yeah, he
obviously.
says it's so it's just not there, you know, for plain eyesight. But when you point it out, then he says it's kind of like find Waldo, you know.
Oh yeah.
Then when you find Waldo, then you're able to see a lot of other things around and
Okay.
stuff like that.
All right, I'm going to go real quickly because we're running out of time.
Okay.
Now, there's this whole thing about red shoes being like a symbol of pedophilia, and I saw this picture in this YouTube series of a bunch of, I don't know if it's cardinals or whatever, all wearing red shoes. Is that some sort of symbol for pedophilia? Well, first of all, I want to ask, like Hollywood, is there an institutionalized pedophile ring within the church? Not all of the church, but is there a segment that is an institutionalized pedophile wing? I didn't want to forget that.
So is there one in the church?
Yeah, like Hollywood, part of it, not all of it, is this institutionalized pedophile ring. Um, is there the same in the church, the Catholic Church, that well, at least the Catholic Church, that part of it operates as an institutionalized pedophile ring?
Erik says that he says yes, but it's not. It's almost, Erik has shown me it's not like they put them in the
Oh, it's
church.
not it's not so organized, right?
But it's like those in the church found them.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so, that's how he's showing me. Now, when you talked about red shoes, Erik flashed into my thoughts, um, Dorothy on The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, wow. So tell me what you mean, Erik.
So
Tell me
he's
about
saying
the red shoes.
that this is a symbol. It is a symbol because, um, Erik is saying some of it has to do with red means power,
Yeah.
and so there is a symbol, and it, but it's a fashionable one. So there's people don't think
Yeah.
twice about it. Now, if you had rainbow shoes, people would like, why are they wearing rainbow shoes?
Yeah.
But on something like this is power. This is what this is, and it's to let people, and it stands out so people notice it, and it's like they notice things. Erik is saying it's kind of like the rainbow flag for LBGTQ. When that's posted somewhere, we see it right away and we know
Right.
it. And he says there is some truth to that. Yes, this is. And he goes, but this doesn't mean everybody that wears red shoes is
Oh
a
my
criminal.
God, no. But
And
of course
so,
it could be the blood of innocence dripping on the shoes of the perpetrator, or, you know, having sex with a boy, a little boy or a little girl, breaking the hymen, creating blood, dripping on the shoes. I don't know. Maybe just a little bit too
you
far,
know,
but
there was a person who I want to say was the Dr. Phil show. I don't know, a few years back, whose parents were of in a political field, and I can't even remember their names or nothing. But she was harvest. I want to say harvest. She was made to be a part of this sex trafficking, and they mutilated her body in some ways, and somehow she got away. And she's an adult now, and I think she was like in her 30s or something, talking about this. And I remember hearing her when she was talking about. It sounded like a bizarre, crazy woman talking.
no, it's
Like, and
not.
and and when I was hearing some of this, I was thinking, oh my God, she was telling the truth, but it was so bizarre. Nobody could believe her.
I know. I'm going to send you that one part. It's cool. All right, really quickly, because I don't want to go over time for you. But the CPS, Child Protective Services, has been accused and convicted of abducting and selling kids out of foster care. And
Ooh,
this Mrs. Schaefer called him out, and then she was murdered. Is that true? Yes, no, make it quick.
Erik says yes.
All right, so Pizzagate. There's this pizza parlor. Actually, the owner is somehow distantly related to the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, whoever deep state person. And it's said that Hillary Clinton ran a pedophile ring in that pizza restaurant. And some of the murals are just like so sexually graphic on this thing that kids go to, okay? And it said that Hillary sexually abused underage kids there, but there was also a lot of other pedophilic acts there. Yes, no, maybe.
Erik is saying, Erik is he's going with maybe. He's going with maybe,
Are
and
you protecting us?
yeah, Erik saying yeah.
Is Pizzagate a real
And
thing? Because we
Erik,
even saw the Dutch princess or whatever has a little bejeweled pizza slice on her thing, on her.
Erik says, there's a lot of stuff that's getting ready to become knowledgeable
God,
soon.
thank God. But Pizzagate is a thing, right? Pedophilia happened in that pizza shop.
He's telling me that Pizzagate, I don't know, but he's telling me that stands for something. I don't know. Well, I don't know if the initials stand for something, which I don't know what Z would stand for, but it does. He says yes, it
Well,
does
it's a
stand.
pizza parlor that apparently, maybe in the back room or whatever, there was a lot of adult on child sex
I
and maybe torture. I don't know.
I also feel like Eric is showing me that that's not what it was opened up to be. But I
Oh,
feel like there was maybe some debt or something, and there was an agreement for, like, you, it's kind of like borrowing money from like these payday loan places that have like
mm,
21, 26% interest, and
yeah. I'm gonna
I
break your knees with this bat if you don't pay, that kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Is the mafia involved? Is that what you're saying?
Eric says, stuff will be revealed. He's telling me.
Okay. Are politicians involved? Big, heavy hitting
He
politicians?
laughs. He said, "Of course they are."
Uh,
He says, "That's a known thing." He said, "Of course they are."
okay. Snopes. I think that's how you say it. And some of these other truth seeking sites, that try to debunk some of this. I found out that they probably are controlled by the global elite, so that they falsely debunk many of these claims. Is that a yes or a no? That Snopes is just part of the deep state, is under deep state control, global elite control, anyway.
Eric says Eric is just going to go plain yes, and because when you were talking about, Eric says, it was telling me, he goes, "Denise, you can't believe everything that's going on in those things, what's being said in those
Yeah,
things."
yeah.
So yeah,
All
so
right.
yeah.
So, what is the spiritual contract for the collective again for all this? Because it's got to be one.
Well, Eric says, the spiritual contract is, to, because this is something that the world has been wanting, like, we were on course about being living in harmony and da 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 way back when, and then we got off course,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like, it's, they gave us a rope and now we're going to hang ourselves with it,
Mm.
and this is what, um, Eric just said, that's where a lot of them, that's about the hanging. That
Oh.
is like, they, when I just said that, but he's, it's about shifting everything,
To
like,
the better, I hope. Jesus. I
yes,
mean,
Eric says yes, because he says it's like we have a car payment that's upside down. Our car's worth $5,000, but we owe 100,000 on it. So it's,
wow.
it's time to flip it back around. And he says things are definitely, he says, but he says, Mom, he says, he said it, he's going, I said it before. He says, we have to take baby steps with this. So,
Yeah.
and it may feel like huge chunks for some of us, but it's really baby steps, because this is going to unfold over, he's showing me, like 3 to 5 year process. So it's not just the human trafficking, the sex
Yeah.
trafficking. And I want people to know that this is a real thing, because Houston has one of the biggest human
Oh.
trafficking. And they tell us, when we've had the Super Bowl, when we've had the basketball, whatever it was, the rodeo and the oil convention thing that we didn't have this time because of this COVID-19,
Yeah.
that we have some of the it is a big sex trafficking ring here in Houston,
Oh.
off of 1960 area, around in there. So this stuff is real. That it's not that,
Oh, no doubt.
yeah, that this is made up stuff. This is stuff that is really real. And so, and Eric is saying, where do you think these kids and these people go? They're missing and nobody's ever seen them. They don't
Oh.
just evaporate into thin air.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah. It's
have,
like, oh,
but
go ahead.
most
Yeah.
haven't.
Wow.
Yes.
It's like, in a macrocosm, microcosm, you're robbing these beautiful, wonderful children of their innocence. In a
Oh,
macrocosm, it's like robbing humanity of their innocence, and we got to regain that somehow. So,
Eric says yes. He's saying, hold on to your boots. He's
well,
saying.
so what's going to happen? I mean, everything's in progress. People are getting down to it, and things are going to go down, right?
Eric says things are in motion.
Who's a knight in shining armor that's helping us with this? Name two, three people.
Um, he's well. He says he can't really. He doesn't
Okay.
really because it
Oh
just
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like
it just
mum's the word. All right.
yeah.
I can tell you, but I will have to kill you. All right. Thank you, Erik. Anything else you want to mention about it?
You know, he just says, you know, this is not about to. This is about staying in the love, you know,
Yes.
and not staying in the fear of this because and and
Yeah.
he says just stay in that
And have hope that we're going to turn things around. I mean, like I say, this is a
yeah.
fighting of good against evil.
He
Even
says
though
there's
it's
people
all
been
the spectrum of light, evil
yes.
being at the darker end, still it needs to be fought.
Erik said Erik is saying this is a like this is an explosion that we've been wanting to happen for a long time.
Good. Needs to
And when he
rebalance
shows me
things.
the
Yeah.
explosion, I feel he's showing me like bright light coming from this. So
Oh
this is what
God.
we've been wanting. And
Yeah.
you know, and people have been talking about the new earth and the shift. And Erik says, this is it. This is
It's a
it.
part of it. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I love you, Erik. I love you, Denise. You guys check her out at, of course you want to. Come on. DeniseRamon.com, which I will put right here. Bye, peeps. Bye,
Erik says,
everybody.
bye. Erik says, Mom, I love you.
I love you more.
Oh,
Bye.
bye. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you.